Alright, let me show you how we put our ring installation here at Wavejet. Just take the ring and lay it in place. And then what I'm going to do is draw where the bottom of the ring is so I know how far down to sand and rough up the surface. So I'm just laying the ring in there, drawing a line so I can see where to sand. And then the next step is just to go around and rough up all the edges. And I won't go below that line. I want to try to keep that shiny and looking good. And then I'll just sand around the perimeter like this, roughing up all the surfaces. I also might take a razor blade, just kind of go around and square everything off so it'll lay in flat. And if there's any bumps or any anomalies, it flattens it out. Also go along this edge too. Also might use a wire brush. Alright, after preparing the surface, sanding it and roughing it up, we have to blow it out the air. Now we'll run next door and get this with some alcohol and acetone. Alright, after blowing off all the excess powder and dust, I'm going to hit it with some acetone now to prepare the surface for bonding. Just hold it on my cloth here and hit all the areas that are going to be bonded. Let that dry, and we should have a good surface ready to take the adhesive. Alright, now we're going to rough up the surface on the ring to prepare it for bonding into the surfboard. And what I do with that is I'll first hit it with the razor blade, make sure there's no bumps, and square up the edges here. Sort of like the same thing I did on the cavity of the surfboard. Just if there's any irregularities or to take away that radius. And then after that, I'll just go ahead and hit all the surfaces that are going to be bonding. Just work my way around and make sure I get everywhere. I may even use my wire brush. Again, this will put some gouges in there, and that just helps with the adhesive, give it somewhere to go. And I'll clean it up with a little bit of acetone. And then we'll let that dry. And now it's ready for adhesive. Alright, next step, we're going to put a bead of silicone around the top line here on the cavity. Not a big one, just a little one right here. We want to make sure it seals. Even though we're going to come back later with epoxy on a good portion of the ring when we install it, we want to put silicone along here. And then I'll show you what we're going to do to the actual ring itself here in a minute. Now we're going to apply the silicone to the mounting ring. What we want to do is carefully leave enough room around this part so that it doesn't squeeze into this area. The rest of the way around, we're going to get right along the edge so it'll actually squeeze into the cavity, and then we'll hit it with our finger to make sure we have a smooth, watertight seal. So I'll start out here a little bit away from that, and then I want to get real close to the edge here. A little bit wide around this. And what this does is help hold the epoxy in, since this is a little bit away from the edge. Then I'll come back with one more right behind it. Next thing we're going to do is apply the epoxy to all this other open area here, and then put it into the board. Alright, we're going to apply the epoxy now on the mounting ring, and we've added a little bit of thickener to it. So we'll just go around and put this in the center here. pop this baby in. Just lay it into place. We'll push it down. What I'll do is place this over here. I'm going to put the pod in. I just want to put a little gasket here so I can pull it out later. This will make sure it's down in position where it needs to be. And I'll weight it down so as silicone expands, this will keep it jump out of position, so we keep it nice and flush. We want to make sure that all the surfaces net up. You can see that pretty much nets out the surfaces. Some of the cavities are too high, need to be lower, and then that way you can always bring it up. It's impossible to get it any lower. Alright, here we have a board that has a perfect cavity where the fit is just right. And what I mean by that is the two surfaces, the surface of the board and the surface of the pod, net up to almost exactly the same surface. So it's not high, it's not low, it's just even. If anything, you want the pod surface to be just a tiny bit below the surface of the board. So as you can see, as I drag the credit card along here, we have almost a completely like surface. And as you go all the way around the board, same thing. Real nice match up surface to surface. And that's what we're looking for.